This authorized audiobook of Soul Contracts 101 by Serafina Hartwell is presented by Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Serafina Hartwell. Introduction to Part 1. Foundations of Soul Contracts. Imagine standing at the threshold of eternity, surrounded by luminous beings whose presence radiates wisdom beyond measure. Here, in the Cosmic Agreement Room, your soul gathers to deliberate over the blueprint of your upcoming life. What lessons will propel your evolution? Who will join you as allies, teachers, or mirrors reflecting hidden truths? And what debts from past lives must be resolved? Part 1 lays the groundwork for understanding these profound arrangements. We'll explore the metaphysical framework behind soul contracts, their origins, purposes, and participants. From karmic ties binding you to others to growth-oriented agreements designed to expand your consciousness, this section illuminates the intricate web connecting all souls. Through vivid imagery, real-life examples, and practical insights, you'll gain a foundational grasp of why your life unfolds as it does, and how to navigate its twists and turns with grace. By the end of Part 1, you'll see your life not as a random sequence of events, but as a carefully orchestrated symphony, each note resonating with intention and meaning. With this perspective, you'll be ready to delve deeper into decoding your agreements in Part 2. This authorized audiobook of Soul Contracts 101 by Serafina Hartwell is presented by Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Serafina Hartwell. 1. The Cosmic Agreement Room. The air shimmered like liquid light, a kaleidoscope of colors dancing across an infinite expanse. There were no walls here, only the sensation of being cradled by something vast and immeasurable. It wasn't silence, exactly. Rather, it was a symphony of vibrations so subtle they resonated in your very bones. This was the Cosmic Agreement Room, a sacred space where souls gathered before incarnating into human form. Evelyn sat cross-legged on what felt like soft clouds, though she couldn't see them beneath her. Around her floated luminous beings, some familiar, others entirely foreign. Their forms shifted constantly, as if their essence defied definition. She recognized one immediately, her grandmother, whose warm smile had always been a source of comfort during life's storms. Another figure radiated golden energy, its presence both commanding and gentle, a guide. Perhaps? Evelyn wasn't sure. But there was no fear here, only a profound sense of belonging. "Welcome," said the golden figure, its voice resonating not in her ears but directly within her heart. "You have chosen to return to Earth for another growth cycle." Evelyn blinked, or at least thought she did. Her body felt different here, less solid, more fluid. "Chosen?" she asked aloud, though the word seemed unnecessary in this place where thoughts flowed freely between minds. "I don't remember choosing anything." A ripple of laughter echoed around her, not mocking but affectionate. "That is because you are now wearing the veil of forgetfulness." The guide explained. "It allows you to fully immerse in the human experience without remembering every detail of your divine origin. However, today we lift that veil slightly so you may understand the agreements you are about to make." The purpose of agreements. Evelyn leaned forward, or thought she did, as the scene shifted. Before she appeared a glowing tapestry, threads of silver, gold, and deep indigo weaving together in intricate patterns. Each thread pulsed with energy, carrying fragments of stories yet untold. "These are your soul contracts," the guide continued. "They are promises made with other souls, designed to facilitate growth, resolve karmic debts, and fulfill your unique purpose in this lifetime." "But why would I agree to hardships?" Evelyn asked, her brow furrowing. Even here, in this serene realm, memories of pain surfaced. Her parents' divorce, the betrayal of a close friend, the gnawing loneliness that sometimes gripped her chest. Why choose suffering? The guide tilted its head, its gaze piercing yet kind. Suffering is not the goal, dear one. Growth is. Sometimes challenges are necessary to awaken parts of yourself that remain dormant otherwise. Other times, they serve to heal wounds carried over from past lives. And still, others exist to teach compassion, patience, or forgiveness, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Evelyn nodded slowly, the explanation settling into her consciousness like sunlight breaking through clouds. So, these agreements aren't punishments? No, the guide replied firmly. They are opportunities. Some will bring joy, others sorrow, but all are intended to lead you closer to wholeness. Participants in the agreement process. As the guide spoke, more figures emerged from the ether, each glowing with distinct hues. One bore a faint resemblance to her childhood best friend, while another seemed connected to someone she hadn't met yet, a future lover, perhaps. Each carried a fragment of her story, their roles already decided. These are your co-creators, the guide explained. Souls who have agreed to walk alongside you in this lifetime, playing various roles to help you fulfill your agreements. Some will be teachers, others mirrors reflecting aspects of yourself that confront you. Still others will act as anchors, grounding you when the weight of your journey feels unbearable. Evelyn studied the faces, or what passed for faces in this ethereal plane, and felt a surge of gratitude. These beings weren't random strangers. For the first time, she saw the beauty in even the most difficult relationships. What happens if I break an agreement? She ventured, curiosity mingling with apprehension. The guide smiled softly. Agreements are flexible. While some are deeply rooted in karmic necessity, others can be renegotiated once you gain sufficient awareness. Free will remains your greatest gift. You may honor, release, or transform any contract throughout your life. Preparing for incarnation. The tapestry before Evelyn began to shift, its threads rearranging into new patterns. Scenes unfolded within the weave. A young woman standing alone on a beach, tears streaming down her face. A heated argument in a dimly lit kitchen, hands clasped tightly in mutual support. These moments weren't random. They were glimpses of her upcoming life, snapshots of the agreements she'd just forged. You are ready, the guide announced, touching her shoulder. Though the touch was intangible, it filled her with warmth and resolve. Remember, you carry the wisdom of this moment within you, even if you cannot access it consciously. Trust your intuition. It will guide you back to the truth when you feel lost. Evelyn took a deep breath, or imagined doing so, and felt herself pulled away from the cosmic agreement room. As the vibrant colors faded and the hum of vibrations softened, she whispered a silent promise to herself. I will remember. Monitors and the soft hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Evelyn lay still, her newborn daughter cradled against her chest. The weight of this tiny life stirred something primal within her, a mix of awe, responsibility, and an unshakable sense that their connection ran deeper than mere biology. As she gazed at her daughter's peaceful face, a flicker of recognition passed through her mind. We've done this before, she thought, though the memory dissolved as quickly as it came. Evelyn didn't know it yet, but this moment marked the beginning of her journey to understand the intricate web of agreements binding her to those around her. These weren't ordinary contracts. They were soul-level pacts designed to shape her relationships, challenges, and lessons in ways both subtle and profound. To navigate them effectively, she would need to learn about the different types of soul contracts and how each played a role in her unfolding story. Karmic contracts, resolving past life debts. Later that evening, after the nurses had left and the world outside grew dark, Evelyn owned childhood. Memories surfaced, some sweet, others sharp with pain. Her father's absence loomed large in her mind. He had walked out when she was 6, leaving behind unanswered questions, and a void she'd spent decades trying to fill. Even now, as an adult, she sometimes felt like a child searching for approval, craving validation from men who reminded her of him. Unbeknownst to Evelyn, this pattern stemmed from a karmic contract, one forged long before her current lifetime. Karmic contracts are agreements to resolve debts or unresolved issues carried over from past lives. They often manifest as recurring issues, such as betrayal, abandonment, or sacrifice. While painful, these contracts aren't meant to punish, but for healing and closure. Think of karmic contracts as unfinished business, explained a voice inside her head. Not intrusive, but gentle, almost familiar. It was the same presence she'd encountered in the cosmic agreement room. Your relationship with your father isn't just about him. It's about you learning to release attachment to external validation and find wholeness within yourself. Evelyn frowned, clutching her daughter closer. "But why does it hurt so much?" she whispered. "Because pain is a teacher," the voice replied. "Without it, you might never confront the wounds holding you back. Healing doesn't erase the past, it transforms it." Growth contracts, lessons designed to expand consciousness. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn settled into the rhythm of motherhood. Yet, amidst the joy of watching her daughter grow, she couldn't ignore the nagging sense of stagnation in other areas of her life. Her career felt stagnant, her friendships distant, and her personal goals perpetually postponed. She longed for change, but feared taking risks, paralyzed by self-doubt. While scrolling through social media, she stumbled upon a quote that stopped her cold. "Growth begins at the edge of discomfort." Something about those words resonated deeply, stirring memories of moments when she'd pushed past fear only to discover unexpected strength. That promotion she'd earned after months of doubt. The cross-country move led to lifelong friendships. Each milestone required stepping beyond her comfort zone. These experiences were no accident. They were part of a growth contract. Growth contracts are agreements designed to expand your consciousness, emotional maturity, and spiritual awareness. Unlike karmic contracts, which focus on resolving past issues, growth contracts propel you forward, challenging you to embrace new perspectives and capabilities. For Evelyn, this particular contract revolved around confidence and self-worth. She hesitated to pursue her dreams. She was being nudged toward a choice: remain stuck in fear or take bold steps toward becoming the person she was meant to be. Support contracts, relationships formed to assist others or be assisted. The time her daughter reached her first birthday, Evelyn had noticed patterns in her closest relationships. Sarah, her best friend since college, whose unwavering support had seen her through countless crises. Then there was Marcus, her partner, whose steady presence balanced her impulsiveness. And finally, her grandmother, whose wisdom she even remembers years after her passing. Evelyn didn't realize that connections weren't coincidental. They were support contracts. Support contracts are agreements formed to assist others or be assisted spiritually, emotionally, or physically. Some souls agree to act as pillars of strength during challenging times, while others come to offer guidance, inspiration, or unconditional love. As Evelyn reflected on these relationships, she realized how integral they were to her journey. Sarah had taught her the value of vulnerability. Marcus helped her see the beauty in balance. And her grandmother? She'd instilled a sense of resilience that Evelyn carried with her every day. Support contracts remind us we're never truly alone, the voice whispered again. Even in our darkest moments, souls are committed to walking beside us. Protection contracts, ensuring safety during pivotal moments. Not all soul contracts involve people. Some operate subtly in the background, ensuring safety during pivotal moments. Evelyn experienced one such contract during a harrowing incident when her daughter fell ill unexpectedly. Rushing to the emergency room, panic clawing at her throat, Evelyn prayed fervently for her child's recovery. Hours later, doctors assured her the illness wasn't serious. It had been caught early enough to prevent complications. Looking back, Evelyn marveled at the chain of events that had led to her quick response. Why had she noticed the fever so soon? Why had traffic cleared just as she needed to reach the hospital? These synchronicities weren't random. They were manifestations of a protection contract. Protection contracts ensure physical, emotional, or spiritual safety during critical junctures in life. Whether shielding you from harm or guiding you toward resources and solutions, these agreements operate quietly, often unnoticed until hindsight reveals their significance. Recognizing your own agreements. As Evelyn pieced together the various types of soul contracts shaping her life, she began to see her experiences in a new light. The recurring themes, the people who entered and exited her world, the challenges that once seemed insurmountable, were threads in the grand tapestry of her soul's blueprint. In the next chapter, we'll delve deeper into recognizing the signs of soul contracts in your life. From recurring patterns to intuitive nudges, understanding these markers will empower you to decode the agreements influencing your journey and take meaningful action to align with your highest good. Until then, consider this. What roles do the people in your life play? Are there challenges you keep encountering despite efforts to avoid them? Trust that nothing is random. Everything has a purpose, even if its meaning isn't immediately clear. 3. Recognizing signs of a soul contract. The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting golden streaks across the countertops. Evelyn stood at the sink, washing dishes while her daughter played nearby with a set of wooden blocks. Life had settled into a rhythm again, but beneath the surface, questions simmered. The revelations about soul contracts lingered in her mind like an unfinished melody, haunting yet beautiful. She knew now that her relationships and challenges weren't random, but how could she identify these agreements more clearly? How could she distinguish between ordinary life events and the deeper workings of her soul's blueprint? As if on cue, the voice returned, not intrusive, but comforting, like the whisper of wind through trees. Signs are everywhere. It said softly. You simply need to learn how to see them. Recurring patterns. Echoes of unresolved lessons. Evelyn paused mid-rinse, her hands dripping soap suds onto the floor. Recurring patterns. That phrase resonated deeply. Over the years, she'd noticed certain themes repeating themselves in her life, almost like echoes bouncing off distant walls. For instance, every romantic relationship she'd ever had seemed to follow the same trajectory. Initial excitement, followed by growing distance, and eventually heartbreak. At first, she'd blamed herself, or the partners, for what went wrong. But now, she wondered if something larger was at play. Recurring patterns are one of the clearest signs of a soul contract. The voice explained. They highlight areas where you're meant to grow or heal. If you keep encountering the same type of person, situation, or challenge, it's likely tied to an agreement you made before birth. Evelyn thought back to her father's abandonment and the subsequent string of relationships that mirrored it. Each time, she'd felt abandoned, not because the men in her life were inherently neglectful, but because she carried unresolved wounds from her past. These patterns weren't punishments. They were invitations to confront and heal those wounds. Pay attention to what repeats itself, the voice urged. Ask yourself, what am I being asked to learn here? What part of me needs healing? Intense emotions, clues to karmic ties. Later that evening, as Evelyn tucked her daughter into bed, another realization struck her. Certain people in her life evoked emotions so intense they bordered on irrational. Take Sarah, for example. Her best friend had always been a source of unwavering support, but there were moments when Evelyn felt inexplicably irritated by her, even though Sarah had done nothing wrong. Conversely, Marcus often triggered feelings of insecurity, despite his consistent kindness. These emotional triggers, she realized, pointed to karmic ties, threads connecting her to others across lifetimes. Intense emotions, whether positive or negative, often signal unresolved karma. Love that feels fated, anger that seems disproportionate, or loyalty that defies logic can all stem from agreements forged long ago. Emotions are messengers, the voice reminded her. When someone stirs strong feelings within you, ask yourself why. Is this person reflecting a part of yourself you've ignored? Are they helping you resolve old debts? Evelyn nodded slowly, understanding dawning within her. Her irritation with Sarah might stem from past life dynamics she didn't fully comprehend. And Marcus's ability to trigger her insecurities? Perhaps he was here to help her confront and release them. Synchronicities, divine nudges toward awareness. A few days later, Evelyn experienced a moment of synchronicity, so striking it left her breathless. While browsing a bookstore, she picked up a novel on impulse, a story about a woman navigating the complexities of motherhood and self-discovery. As she flipped through the pages, a single sentence leapt out at her. Your greatest teacher is the one who mirrors your own soul. The words hit home with uncanny precision. That very morning, Marcus had shared feedback about her tendency to overcommit, gently urging her to prioritize herself more. His comment had stung initially, but now, standing in the bookstore, Evelyn saw the connection. The universe was nudging her toward awareness, using both people and circumstances to guide her path. Synchronicities are divine breadcrumbs leading you toward your soul's truth. They appear as meaningful coincidences, chance encounters, timely advice, or symbols that resonate deeply. When you notice these alignments, pay attention. They're often signs pointing you toward unresolved lessons or opportunities for growth. Synchronicities remind you that you're exactly where you're meant to be, the voice whispered. Even when life feels chaotic, trust that the universe is conspiring in your favor. Dreams and intuition, direct channels to soul memories. That night, Evelyn dreamed vividly. In the dream, she stood on a windswept cliff overlooking an endless ocean. Beside her stood a man whose face she couldn't quite make out, though his presence felt achingly familiar. He handed her a small, intricately carved box and said, "This belongs to you. Open it when you're ready." When Evelyn woke, the memory of the dream lingered, sharp and clear. She recognized it immediately as more than just a random nighttime vision. It was a message from her higher self, a glimpse into her soul's memories. Dreams and intuition serve as direct channels to the subconscious, offering insights into your soul contracts. Dreams may reveal past life connections, unresolved issues, or upcoming challenges. Similarly, intuitive nudges, those gut feelings that urge you to take a specific action, often align with your pre-birth agreements. Listen to your dreams, the voice advised, and honor your intuition. Both are gifts meant to guide you. Exercise, mapping your soul's blueprint. By the end of the week, Evelyn decided to put everything she'd learned into practice. Armed with pen and paper, she sat down to create a soul map, a visual representation of the agreements shaping her life. Here's how she approached it. 1. Identify recurring themes. Evelyn listed patterns she'd noticed in her relationships, career, and personal struggles. Abandonment, fear of failure, and perfectionism topped the list. 2. Reflect on emotional triggers. She wrote down the names of people who stirred intense emotions, noting what those feelings revealed about her inner world. 3. document synchronicities. Evelyn recorded recent coincidences that felt significant, along with any messages or lessons they conveyed. 4. Analyze dreams and intuition. Finally, she jotted down memorable dreams and intuitive hunches, exploring their potential meanings. As she worked, a picture began to emerge, a map of her soul's journey, complete with landmarks and signposts. It wasn't perfect, but it gave her clarity and direction. In the next chapter, we'll explore practical methods for mapping your own soul's blueprint, from astrology and numerology to meditation and energy work. These techniques will empower you to uncover hidden agreements and take ownership of your spiritual evolution. Until then, remember this: every pattern, emotion, and synchronicity holds a clue. Trust yourself to decode the messages and let your soul lead the way. Introduction to Part 2: Decoding Your Agreements. If Part 1 was about understanding the theory of soul contracts, Part 2 is where the rubber meets the road. It's one thing to know that such agreements exist. It's another entirely to identify them in your own life. How do you distinguish between a chance encounter and a fated reunion? Between a mere coincidence and a synchronistic signpost pointing toward unresolved karma? This section arms you with the tools to decode your soul's blueprint. Drawing upon ancient practices like astrology, numerology, and tarot, as well as modern techniques like dream interpretation and energy work, we'll uncover the clues embedded in your daily experiences. You'll learn to trace recurring themes back to their source, interpret the emotions tied to specific people or situations, and connect the dots between seemingly unrelated events. Through guided exercises and reflective prompts, you'll create a soul map charting the key agreements shaping your journey. More importantly, you'll develop the discernment needed to separate healthy, supportive contracts from those that hold you back. Armed with this knowledge, you'll enter Part 3 prepared to heal, release, and rewrite your story. 4. Mapping your soul's blueprint. The morning sun filtered through the curtains as Evelyn sat cross-legged on her living room floor, surrounded by notebooks, tarot cards, and a laptop open to an astrology chart generator. Her soul map from the previous week lay spread out before her, its hastily scribbled notes and arrows forming a chaotic yet meaningful web. She felt excitement and trepidation, like she was standing at the edge of a vast ocean, ready to dive in, but unsure of what lay beneath the surface. Mapping your soul's blueprint isn't just about identifying patterns. It's about uncovering the deeper truths encoded within those patterns. It requires tools that bridge the conscious and subconscious mind, revealing insights hidden in plain sight. For Evelyn, this meant delving into practices like astrology, numerology, dream interpretation, and meditation. Each offered a unique lens through which to view her life's agreements, and together, they painted a fuller picture of her soul's journey. Astrology, the cosmic blueprint. Evelyn had always been curious about astrology, though she dismissed it in the past as mere entertainment. Now, armed with newfound knowledge about soul contracts, she decided to give it another look. After inputting her birth date, time, and location into an online chart generator, she stared at the resulting natal chart, a circular diagram filled with symbols representing planets, houses, and zodiac signs. This is more than just personality traits, the voice explained gently. Your natal chart reflects the cosmic energies present at the moment of your birth, the conditions under which you entered this lifetime. It reveals not only your strengths and challenges, but also potential karmic themes. Evelyn traced her finger over the symbol for Saturn, positioned prominently in her 7th house of relationships. According to astrological interpretations, Saturn here indicated lessons around commitment, boundaries, and partnership. No wonder her romantic relationships often felt fraught with tension. It wasn't bad luck, It was part of her agreement to master these dynamics. Look beyond the surface, the voice encouraged. What do the placements in your chart reveal about your purpose? Which areas of life might require extra effort or attention? As Evelyn explored her chart further, she began to see connections between her planetary alignments and the recurring themes in her soul map. The moon in Cancer suggested deep emotional sensitivity, while Mars in Scorpio hinted at a powerful drive for transformation. These insights didn't dictate her fate, they illuminated the terrain she'd chosen to navigate. Numerology, decoding vibrational frequencies. Next, Evelyn turned to numerology, intrigued by its promise to decode the vibrational frequencies embedded in numbers. Using her full name and birth date, she calculated her life path number, a single digit derived from adding up the digits in her birth date until reduced to one number, except for master numbers like 11, 22, or 33. Her life path number was 5, associated with freedom, adaptability, and exploration. Yet Evelyn couldn't help but notice how much of her life had revolved around seeking stability rather than embracing change. Was this a contradiction? Or a clue? Numerology doesn't define who you are, the voice clarified. It highlights tendencies and potentials. A life path number of 5 suggests a soul drawn to growth through movement and variety. But if you've resisted this energy, it could manifest as restlessness or dissatisfaction. Evelyn nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps her fear of abandonment stemmed not only from childhood wounds, but also from resisting the adventurous spirit her soul craved. By aligning with her natural inclination toward exploration, she might find greater fulfillment, and perhaps even resolve some of her karmic ties. She jotted down additional calculations, including her expression number, derived from her full name, and destiny number linked to her aspirations. Each provided another layer of insight, helping her piece together the puzzle of her soul's design. Dream interpretation. Accessing hidden memories. That night, Evelyn revisited her dreams with fresh eyes. Earlier in the week, she dismissed them as random fragments of imagination. Now, she approached them as portals to her soul's memories. In one particularly vivid dream, she found herself walking through a dense forest, searching for something she couldn't quite name. Along the way, she encountered a wise elder who handed her a glowing orb. "This is your truth," the figure said. "Carry it carefully." When Evelyn woke, she realized the orb symbolized clarity, the kind she sought in understanding her soul contracts. Dreams like this weren't merely symbolic, they contained literal messages from her higher self. To interpret dreams effectively, the voice advised, start by asking questions. What emotions did the dream evoke? Who or what appeared, and why? How does it relate to your waking life? Evelyn began keeping a dream journal, recording every detail she could remember upon waking. Over time, patterns emerged, recurring symbols, characters, and scenarios from her real-life experiences. Through this practice, she uncovered unresolved fears, untapped strengths, and glimpses of past life connections. Meditation, connecting with spirit guides. While astrology, numerology, and dream interpretation provided valuable frameworks, Evelyn knew she needed a direct line to her soul's wisdom. Meditation became her go-to tool for accessing this inner guidance. One evening, after settling, she closed her eyes and focused on her breath. As her mind quieted, she visualized stepping into the cosmic agreement room once more. This time, instead of passively observing, she asked specific questions. What lesson am I currently avoiding? Who in my life is playing a key role in my soul's evolution? How can I best honor my agreements without losing myself? To her surprise, answers came, not in words but in feelings, images, and intuitive nudges. She saw flashes of her father's face, accompanied by a wave of compassion. She felt the presence of Sarah and Marcus, each radiating distinct energies that resonated with different aspects of her being. And she received a clear impression of herself standing confidently, unshaken by external validation. Meditation opens doors that remain closed in ordinary consciousness, the voice reminded her. Use it regularly to deepen your connection with your guides, ancestors, and higher self. Case study: putting it all together. By combining these tools, Evelyn created a comprehensive soul map that revealed broad strokes and fine details of her agreements. For example, astrology highlighted her need to balance independence, life path 5, with relational commitments, Saturn in the 7th house. Numerology emphasized her destiny to embrace change and seek truth, destiny number 7. Dreams pointed to unresolved fears and untapped potential, symbolized by the glowing orb. Meditation connected her directly to her guides, offering reassurance and direction. With this newfound clarity, Evelyn felt empowered to take action, not just to understand her soul contracts, but to transform them. Transition to Chapter 5. Understanding your soul's blueprint is a powerful step toward healing and growth. Yet awareness alone isn't enough. To truly honor your agreements, you must confront the pain points they highlight and release the burdens holding you back. In the next chapter, we'll explore practical techniques for processing old wounds, forgiving those involved in your karmic agreements, and integrating the lessons in your challenges. Healing through awareness is the bridge between recognition and resolution, and it's where true transformation begins. Until then, trust the process. Every insight brings you closer to wholeness. 5. Healing through awareness. The scent of lavender wafted through the air as Evelyn sat in her favorite armchair, a steaming cup of herbal tea cradled in her hands. The room was dimly lit, save for the soft glow of a Himalayan salt lamp on the side table. She had spent weeks mapping her soul's blueprint, decoding astrological charts, interpreting dreams, and meditating to connect with her higher self. But now, armed with clarity about her agreements, she faced the hardest part of the journey: healing. Understanding your soul contracts is like shining a light into the darkest corners of your psyche. It reveals truths you may have buried long ago, painful memories, unresolved emotions, and lingering fears. Yet awareness alone isn't enough. To truly transform these wounds, you must confront them head-on, using compassion and forgiveness as tools for liberation. From pain to purpose, reframing challenges. Evelyn thought back to one of her earliest realizations, the recurring theme of abandonment in her life. Her father's departure during childhood had left an indelible mark, shaping her relationships and self-worth for decades. At first, she'd viewed this pattern as a curse, a cruel twist of fate that kept repeating itself. But now, through the lens of soul contracts, this challenge wasn't sent to punish you, the voice reminded her gently. It was designed to teach you resilience, self-reliance, and unconditional love for yourself and others. Reframing challenges as opportunities for growth shifted Evelyn's perspective. Instead of seeing her father's absence as a source of pain, she began to recognize it as a catalyst for inner strength. Each time she chose to nurture herself despite feelings of inadequacy, she honored her agreement to grow beyond dependency and cultivate wholeness. Ask yourself, the voice suggested, what lesson does this experience hold? How has it shaped me into who I am today? Evelyn jotted down reflections in her journal, tracing the threads of her past to their present-day impact. With each entry, she felt lighter, as if shedding layers of accumulated weight. Forgiveness practices, releasing resentment, healing old wounds required more than reframing. It demanded forgiveness. For Evelyn, This meant addressing the deep-seated resentment she still harbored toward her father. Though years had passed since his departure, the hurt lingered, manifesting as mistrust in romantic relationships and difficulty forming close bonds. One evening, guided by a meditation exercise she discovered online, Evelyn visualized sitting across from her younger self, the little girl who had cried herself to sleep after her father left. In her mind's eye, she embraced that child, whispering words of comfort and reassurance. "You didn't deserve to be abandoned," she said softly. "But you are stronger because of it, and you are loved, not just by others, but by yourself." Next, she turned her attention to her father. Visualization exercises helped her release the anger and blame she'd carried for so long. She imagined him standing before her, not as the man who walked away, but as a flawed human being navigating his own struggles. Forgiveness didn't mean excusing his actions. It meant freeing herself from the burden of resentment. "To forgive is to reclaim your power," the voice explained. "When you let go of grudges, you create space for healing and new possibilities." Evelyn repeated affirmations daily, reinforcing her commitment to forgiveness. "I release the past and embrace peace. I forgive those who hurt me, knowing they acted from their own wounds. I am whole, regardless of external circumstances." Over time, the tightness in her chest began to ease, replaced by a sense of freedom she hadn't felt in years. Mirror work, confronting error. Hyperlink reference not valid. Hidden truths. Another powerful tool Evelyn discovered was mirror work, a practice rooted in self-reflection and acceptance. Each morning, she stood before her bathroom mirror and gazed into her own eyes, speaking aloud affirmations tailored to her soul's journey. At first, the exercise felt awkward, even uncomfortable. Staring at her reflection forced her to confront insecurities she'd long ignored, the critical voice that whispered she wasn't good enough, smart enough, or lovable enough. But with persistence, something shifted. "I see you," she told her reflection one day, tears streaming down her cheeks. "And I accept you exactly as you are." Mirror work revealed how deeply intertwined her external relationships were with her internal dialogue. The criticisms she feared hearing from others mirrored the judgments she directed inward. By practicing self-compassion, she began to heal not only her relationship with herself, but also her connections with those around her. "Your outer world reflects your inner state," the voice reminded her. "Change the way you speak to yourself, and watch how your reality transforms." Energy clearing, processing old wounds. In addition to emotional healing, Evelyn explored energetic practices to clear residual blockages caused by past traumas. Cord-cutting ceremonies became a regular ritual, helping her sever ties with outdated agreements that no longer served her highest good. During one such ceremony, she envisioned thick, tangled cords connecting her heart to various people in her life: her father, ex-partners, and toxic friendships. One by one, she imagined cutting these cords with a golden blade, releasing the energetic imprints they carried. As each cord dissolved, she felt lighter, freer, and more aligned with her authentic self. She also incorporated smudging rituals, burning sage, and Palo Santo to cleanse her home of stagnant energy. The act of physically purifying her space reinforced her intention to release the past and welcome new beginnings. "Energy follows thought," the voice explained. "When you consciously direct your focus toward healing, you align with vibrations that support your transformation." Case study: a moment of breakthrough. One afternoon, while sorting through old boxes in her attic, Evelyn stumbled upon a faded photograph of her father. Her initial reaction was a surge of familiar anger, but then something unexpected happened. Instead of pushing the emotion away, she allowed herself to sit with it, exploring its roots without judgment. As she held the photo, memories flooded back, not just of pain, but of moments of joy and connection. She remembered laughter shared over board games, bedtime stories read in hushed tones, and the warmth of his hugs. These fragments of love had been overshadowed by loss, but they remained part of her story nonetheless. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Thank you for being my father, even if our time together was brief. I release you now with love." At that moment, Evelyn felt a profound shift within her, a release of the weight she'd carried for so long. She realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about integrating all aspects of the experience, both light and dark, into a cohesive whole. Transition to Chapter 6. Healing through awareness is a transformative process, but it doesn't end there. Once you've processed old wounds and released what no longer serves you, the next step is taking ownership of your agreements. Some contracts can be renegotiated or rewritten entirely, allowing you to shape your destiny with intention and purpose. In the next chapter, we'll explore practical methods for breaking unhealthy agreements and forging new ones aligned with your evolving desires and values. Remember, you are the author of your soul's story, and every choice you make writes the next chapter. Until then, continue nurturing your healing journey. Trust that each step brings you closer to wholeness. 6. Breaking unhealthy agreements. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across Evelyn's living room. She sat cross-legged on the floor, a journal open before her, and a cup of tea cooling beside her. The air felt charged with possibility, a quiet hum of energy that seemed to whisper, "You are ready." Ready for what? To take control, to rewrite the script of her life, to break free from agreements that no longer served her highest good. Healing had been a crucial step, but Evelyn knew instinctively that some soul contracts required more than forgiveness or reframing. They needed to be severed entirely. These were the unhealthy agreements, toxic patterns draining relationships and outdated beliefs that weighed her down despite her best efforts to heal them. Now, it was time to reclaim her power by consciously choosing which agreements to honor and which to release. Identifying toxic agreements. Evelyn began by revisiting her soul map, scanning it for recurring themes that still caused her pain or frustration. One pattern stood out immediately: her tendency to attract emotionally unavailable partners. Whether it was Marcus's occasional emotional distance or fleeting romances with men who couldn't commit, this dynamic had plagued her love life for years. "This isn't just bad luck," she mused aloud, recalling insights from earlier chapters. "It's part of an agreement I made to resolve past wounds around abandonment. But at what cost?" Toxic agreements often masquerade as growth opportunities, disguising their harm beneath layers of karmic necessity. Yet when these agreements perpetuate suffering without meaningful progress, they become obstacles rather than stepping stones. Evelyn realized that continuing to engage in such dynamics wasn't serving her, or anyone else involved. "Ask yourself," the voice prompted gently, "does this agreement bring me closer to wholeness, or does it keep me stuck in cycles of pain?" She listed other potential toxic agreements in her life. A friendship where she constantly gave but rarely received support. A work environment that stifled her creativity and drained her energy. Limiting beliefs about her worthiness, reinforced by societal expectations. Each item on the list carried echoes of old fears and unresolved karma, but also an invitation to choose differently moving forward. Rituals for severing ties. Breaking unhealthy agreements requires intentionality and ceremony. Evelyn decided to start with the most pervasive pattern: attracting emotionally unavailable partners. Drawing on practices she'd learned about energy clearing, she prepared for a cord-cutting ritual designed to release the energetic ties binding her to this dynamic. That evening, after lighting candles and playing soft instrumental music, Evelyn closed her eyes and visualized thick, dark cords connecting her heart to various figures from her romantic history. With each breath, she imagined slicing through these cords using a golden blade, a symbol of divine intervention and personal empowerment. As the cords dissolved, she whispered affirmations. I release you with love and gratitude for the lessons we shared. I am worthy of healthy, balanced relationships. I trust the universe to guide me toward partnerships that honor my soul. Tears streamed down her face as waves of emotion washed over her, grief for lost connections, relief at letting go, and hope for new beginnings. When the ritual ended, she felt lighter, as though invisible chains had fallen away. For her friendship marked by imbalance, Evelyn performed a mirror visualization exercise. She pictured herself standing face to face with her friend, acknowledging the beauty of their bond while setting firm boundaries. I cherish our connection, she affirmed silently, but I can no longer carry the weight of your struggles alone. I release us both from this cycle of imbalance. Finally, to address limiting beliefs about her worthiness, Evelyn wrote down negative thoughts like I'm not enough or I don't deserve happiness on slips of paper. One by one, she burned them in a small fireproof bowl, watching the flames consume the words until nothing remained but ash. These rituals aren't magic spells, the voice reminded her. They're declarations of intent, signaling to the universe and yourself that you're ready to move forward. Invoking free will, rewriting your story. With unhealthy agreements severed, Evelyn created new ones aligned with her desires and values. This process required invoking her free will, the ultimate gift of every soul. While pre-birth contracts provide a blueprint, free will allows individuals to adapt, renegotiate, or rewrite those agreements throughout their lives. Evelyn envisioned her ideal future, a life filled with fulfilling relationships, creative expression, and inner peace. She asked herself, what kind of partner do I want to attract? How can I nurture friendships that feel mutually supportive? What career path aligns with my passions and purpose? Using these reflections as a guide, she drafted new agreements, statements of intent written in present tense, as if they were already true. I am surrounded by loving, supportive people who uplift and inspire me. My work brings joy and fulfillment, allowing me to share my gifts with the world. I trust myself to make decisions rooted in authenticity and compassion. She placed these affirmations in prominent places, her phone lock screen, bathroom mirror, and bedside table, to reinforce her commitment daily. Case study, a new beginning. Weeks later, Evelyn noticed subtle yet profound shifts in her life. Her relationship with Marcus deepened as they communicated openly about their needs and boundaries. Friends who once took advantage of her generosity began sensing her newfound clarity and self-respect. Creative pursuits flourished, leading to unexpected opportunities that aligned perfectly with her aspirations. One particularly poignant moment came during a conversation with Sarah, her lifelong best friend. Over coffee, Evelyn confessed how much she valued their bond, but admitted feeling overwhelmed at times by the imbalance in their friendship. To her surprise, Sarah responded with understanding and gratitude. I've always known you'd call me out if something didn't sit right, Sarah said with a smile. And honestly, I needed to hear this. Thank you for being honest. It helps me grow too. In that exchange, Evelyn saw the ripple effects of breaking unhealthy agreements. By honoring her truth, she inspired others to do the same. Transition to Part 3. Breaking unhealthy agreements marks a pivotal turning point in your journey, you to live authentically within your soul's design. Yet, transformation doesn't stop here. In Part 3, we'll explore how to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, strengthen supportive relationships, and manifest a future rooted in alignment with your highest self. Until then, celebrate your courage in releasing what no longer serves you. Trust that the universe is to bring forth experiences that reflect your renewed intentions. Introduction to Part 3, Living in Alignment with Your Soul's Purpose. Understanding and decoding your soul contracts is only half the battle. The true magic happens when you take ownership of these agreements and use them as stepping stones toward fulfillment. In Part 3, we shift our focus from introspection to action, exploring how to live authentically within your soul's design. Here, you'll learn to embrace challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities for growth. You'll discover rituals for releasing outdated contracts and forging new ones aligned with your evolving desires. Most crucially, you'll cultivate practices that nurture supportive relationships, foster abundance, and keep you anchored in your higher purpose. You conclude you won't merely understand your soul contracts. You'll embody them. You'll walk away empowered to co-create your destiny with clarity, confidence, and compassion. After all, the ultimate goal of decoding your agreements isn't just awareness, it's liberation. So let us proceed, one step closer to mastering the art of living in harmony with your soul's deepest truths. 7. Embracing your role in the grand design. The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. Evelyn stood on her porch, sipping chamomile tea as she watched the day fade into twilight. The air was cool against her skin, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming jasmine. She felt a profound sense of calm, not the fleeting kind that comes from escaping life's chaos, but the deep, abiding peace that arises when you finally understand your place within the grand tapestry of existence. Breaking unhealthy agreements had been liberating, yet Evelyn knew this wasn't the end of her journey. It was merely a new beginning. Now, she faced a different challenge, embracing her role in the grand design. This meant shifting from resistance to acceptance, fear to trust, and passivity to active participation in her soul's evolution. It meant seeing herself not as a victim of circumstance, but as a co-creator of her reality. From resistance to acceptance. Evelyn, all the times she'd fought against life's challenges, arguing with fate, railing against injustice, or clinging desperately to outcomes beyond her control. Each struggle had left her exhausted, drained, and further from the clarity she sought. Yet now, armed with the knowledge of soul contracts, she saw these moments differently. They weren't random hardships, they were invitations to surrender, to let go of what she couldn't change, and focus instead on how she responded. Resistance keeps us stuck, the voice reminded her gently. Acceptance opens doors. She recalled Marcus's occasional emotional distance, a trigger that once sent her spiraling into insecurity. Instead of resisting his need for space, she accepted it as part of who he was, trusting that their connection would deepen through mutual understanding rather than forced proximity. Similarly, when work projects didn't unfold as planned, she stopped viewing setbacks as failures and started seeing them as detours leading her toward better opportunities. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation, the voice clarified. It means acknowledging what is so you can respond with wisdom and grace. To cultivate acceptance, Evelyn practiced mindfulness exercises, grounding herself in the present moment whenever anxiety threatened to pull her under. She repeated affirmations like, "I trust the process of life. Everything happens for my highest good. I am exactly where I'm meant to be." With each breath, she felt more aligned with the flow of universal energy, the invisible current guiding her journey. Cultivating gratitude for difficult lessons. Gratitude became another cornerstone of Evelyn's transformation. At first, expressing thanks for painful experiences felt counterintuitive. How could she possibly be grateful for abandonment, heartbreak, or self-doubt? Yet, as she reflected on these lessons, their gifts. Her father's departure had taught her resilience and independence. Heartbreaks had revealed her capacity for love and her ability to heal. Self-doubt had pushed her to dig deeper, uncovering strengths she never knew she possessed. Without these challenges, she wouldn't have grown into the person she today. Gratitude transforms pain into purpose, the voice explained. When you honor the lessons hidden within difficulties, you reclaim their power. Evelyn kept a gratitude journal, jotting down 3 things she was thankful for each night. Some entries celebrated joyful moments, her daughter's laughter, a heartfelt conversation with Sarah, but others acknowledged harder truths. I'm grateful for the lesson in boundaries I learned from an unbalanced friendship. I'm thankful for the courage it took to release toxic patterns in my romantic relationships. I appreciate the growth that came from facing my fears head-on. Over time, this practice rewired her perspective, helping her find beauty even in life's darkest chapters. Trusting divine timing. One of the hardest aspects of embracing her role in the grand design was learning to trust divine timing. Evelyn often found herself impatient, eager for answers or resolutions that hadn't yet arrived. When would she meet the right partner? When would her creative endeavors gain traction? When would she feel truly fulfilled? Yet, as she surrendered to uncertainty, she noticed synchronicities, small signs reminding her that everything was unfolding as it should. A chance encounter with a stranger sparked an idea for a project she'd to define. An unexpected email brought news of a promotion she hadn't dared hope for. Even delays that once frustrated her revealed hidden blessings, giving her time to prepare for what lay ahead. Divine timing operates on a scale far greater than our immediate desires, the voice reassured her. Trust that every delay, detour, or pause serves a higher purpose. To strengthen her faith, Evelyn created a vision board with images and words representing her dreams. Beneath each item, she wrote, "This or something better." The phrase served as a reminder that the universe might have plans. Case study, Finding Freedom in Surrender. A pivotal moment came during a weekend retreat focused on mindfulness and manifestation. During a guided meditation, Evelyn visualized herself standing at the edge of a vast ocean, waves lapping at her feet. She held a lantern glowing with golden light, her soul's essence. As she gazed at the horizon, she realized she didn't need to control the tide. Her job was to shine her light, trusting that it would guide her path. When she returned home, she applied this insight to her daily life. Instead of micromanaging details or obsessing over outcomes, she focused on staying true to her values and intentions, a decision aligned with her highest good. She moved forward without attachment to results. Surprisingly, this approach yielded greater success and serenity than ever before. "I used to think surrender meant giving up," she mused one evening, journaling by candlelight. "Now I see it as stepping fully into my power. By letting go of what I can't control, I create space for miracles to unfold." Transition to Chapter 8. Embracing your role in finding harmony between effort and surrender, action and trust. Yet living authentically also requires nurturing the connections that sustain you, relationships rooted in mutual support, compassion, and growth. These bonds are essential not only for personal fulfillment, but also for fulfilling your soul's agreements. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to strengthen supportive agreements and build bridges that uplift you and those around you. Remember, You are never alone on this journey. Together, we weave the threads of humanity's collective evolution. Until then, continue practicing acceptance, gratitude, and trust. Every step brings you closer to embodying the calm and purpose you see. 8. Strengthening supportive agreements. The morning light filtered through sheer curtains, casting soft golden patterns on the wooden floor of Evelyn's cozy living room. She sat cross-legged on a plush rug, her journal resting in her lap and a steaming cup of chamomile tea beside her. The faint scent of lavender wafted from an oil diffuser nearby, creating an atmosphere of calm that contrasted sharply with the storm of thoughts swirling inside her mind. Evelyn had spent weeks decoding her soul contracts, uncovering old wounds, recognizing recurring patterns, and even severing ties with agreements that no longer served her highest good. But today felt different. Today wasn't about what needed to be released. It was about what could be nurtured. She opened her journal to a fresh page and wrote at the top, "Who supports my journey? Who uplifts me?" As she stared at the words, memories began to surface, faces of people who had been constants in her life, anchors during turbulent times. Her best friend Sarah, whose laughter always seemed to chase away the shadows. Her mentor James, who believed in her potential long before she did herself. And then there was Clara, her elderly neighbor, whose quiet wisdom had guided Evelyn through moments of doubt. These relationships weren't random. They were intentional. They were contracts, agreements made before birth to provide love, guidance, and strength when she needed them most. For the first time, Evelyn allowed herself to truly feel the weight and beauty of those connections. It wasn't just gratitude she felt, it was reverence. Later that afternoon, Evelyn decided to take action. She invited Sarah over for coffee, something they hadn't done in months due to their busy schedules. When Sarah arrived, her vibrant energy filled the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I've missed this," Sarah said as she settled into a chair, cradling her mug. "Life gets so hectic sometimes." "It does," Evelyn agreed, leaning forward. "But I realized recently how much you mean to me. Not just as a friend, but, well, as someone who's part of my soul's blueprint." Sarah raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Soul's blueprint?" Evelyn smiled softly. "Yeah, like, we agreed to meet before we were born, to support each other. You've been there for me more than I can count, and I don't think I've ever really thanked you properly." Sarah blinked, surprised by the sincerity in Evelyn's voice. Then she grinned. "Well, if we're talking pre-birth agreements, I should thank you. Remember the sophomore year, when I was going through that breakup? You showed up at my door with ice cream and stayed with me all night. That wasn't nothing." They both laughed, the sound warm and familiar. But beneath the levity, something profound shifted between them. Their bond deepened, becoming richer and more intentional. By acknowledging the sacredness of their connection, they transformed it from a casual friendship into a partnership rooted in mutual understanding and purpose. The next day, Evelyn visited Clara. The elderly woman lived in a small cottage at the edge of town, surrounded by wildflowers and towering oak trees. Clara greeted her with a knowing smile, as though she'd been expecting her. "You look like someone with questions," Clara said, ushering Evelyn inside. Evelyn hesitated before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about soul contracts lately, about the people in my life who are here to help me grow. And I realized you're one of them." Clara chuckled, her eyes twinkling. "Oh, child, I knew that the moment I met you. Some connections are written in the stars." "But why me?" Evelyn asked, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "Why would someone like you, a wise, incredible person, agree to guide someone like me Clara placed a gentle hand on Evelyn's shoulder. Because every soul has value. Every soul carries lessons others need to learn. Maybe I'm here to teach you patience or resilience. Or maybe you're here to remind me of the joy of seeing the world through younger eyes. It's never one-sided, dear. That's the beauty of these agreements. Her words resonated deeply within Evelyn. She left Clara's house feeling lighter, as though a burden she hadn't fully acknowledged had been lifted. Relationships weren't meant to drain or deplete. They were meant to nourish and elevate. That evening, Evelyn lit a candle and sat down to write affirmations, as suggested in the exercises outlined in Chapter 7. With each sentence, she reinforced the supportive agreements in her life. I am grateful for Sarah, whose unwavering friendship reminds me of the power of unconditional love. I honor James, whose belief in me inspires me to believe in myself. I cherish Clara, whose wisdom guides me toward clarity and peace. As she wrote, she visualized these affirmations weaving together like threads in a tapestry, strengthening the fabric of her life. Each word carried intention. Each phrase vibrated with authenticity. By the end of the week, Evelyn noticed subtle yet significant changes. Conversations with loved ones felt deeper, more meaningful. Small gestures, like sending a thoughtful text or offering a listening ear, became acts of conscious connection rather than reflexive habits. Even strangers seemed to respond differently to her, as though her newfound awareness radiated outward, touching everyone she encountered. One evening, as she prepared for bed, Evelyn paused to reflect on the journey she'd embarked upon. Decoding her soul contracts hadn't just given her insight into her past, empowered her to shape her present and future. And now, by nurturing the supportive agreements in her life, she was learning to live not just for herself, but also for the collective growth of those around her. As she turned off the light, a single thought lingered. We are all connected, not by chance, but by choice. And with that realization, Evelyn drifted off to sleep, ready to embrace whatever tomorrow might bring. 9. Manifesting beyond karma. The morning sun bathed Evelyn's kitchen in warm, golden light as she sipped her tea, gazing out the window at the dew-kissed garden. Birds chirped melodiously, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees. The first time in years, not just with her soul's blueprint, but with the infinite possibilities ahead. She had healed old wounds, released toxic agreements, and embraced her role in the grand design. It was time to take the final step, transcending karmic cycles and consciously creating a future rooted in love, peace, and authenticity. Realized wasn't a prison sentence, it was a teacher, and like any good student, she had learned its lessons well. But mastery meant moving beyond reaction to intention, from unconscious repetition to deliberate creation. This chapter would guide her, and readers, on a life that honored their highest truths while breaking free from the chains of past conditioning. Moving from reaction to intention, Evelyn reflected on how much of her life had been driven by automatic responses, patterns inherited from childhood, societal expectations, or unresolved karma. Her father's abandonment had shaped her fear of rejection, leading her to cling desperately to relationships that mirrored his absence. Her perfectionism stemmed from a need for external validation, born of feeling unseen and unheard as a child. These reactions had kept her tethered to outdated scripts, replaying the same scenes. Reactions are echoes of the past, the voice explained gently. Intentions are seeds of the future. To shift from reaction to intention, Evelyn her thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with curiosity rather than judgment. When anxiety bubbled up during moments of uncertainty, she paused to ask herself, What belief is fueling this emotion? Is this response serving my highest good? How can I choose differently right now? She replaced knee-jerk reactions with conscious choices. Instead of lashing out when frustrated, she practiced deep breathing and responded with calm clarity. Rather than seeking approval from others, she affirmed her worth internally, reminding herself, I am enough as I am. My value isn't determined by external validation. I trust myself to make decisions rooted in love. Over time, these small shifts added up, creating a foundation for intentional living. Aligning choices with soul-level intentions. Next, Evelyn focused on aligning her daily actions with her soul-level intentions, the desires and values that resonated most deeply with her authentic self. She revisited the affirmations she'd written in Chapter 6, refining them to reflect her current aspirations. I attract relationships that nurture mutual growth and joy. I express my creativity freely, knowing it inspires others. I live, guided by love and compassion. To ensure her choices aligned with these intentions, she adopted a simple yet powerful practice, the 3 questions check-in. Before making decisions, whether big, like accepting a job offer, or small, like responding to a friend's request, she asked herself, 1. Does this choice honor my highest good? 2. Does it contribute to the greater good? 3. Does it feel expansive or constrictive in my body? If the answers pointed toward alignment, she moved forward confidently. If not, she paused to reconsider, trusting her intuition to guide her toward better options. This process helped Evelyn navigate pivotal moments with clarity. When offered a promotion that required longer hours away from her daughter, she declined, recognizing that family time aligned more closely with her soul's priorities. Conversely, when an opportunity arose to mentor young women in her community, she accepted enthusiastically, knowing it fulfilled her desire to uplift others. Tools for manifestation. Manifestation became another cornerstone of Evelyn's journey, a way to actively co-create her reality with the universe. Drawing on practices like visualization, gratitude, and energy work, she cultivated a mindset of abundance and possibility. Each morning, she visualized her ideal day unfolding effortlessly. She imagined waking up energized, connecting deeply with loved ones, and accomplishing tasks. Vision firmly in her mind, she signaled to the universe her readiness to receive. Gratitude amplified her manifestations. Before bed, she wrote down 3 things she appreciated about her day, no matter how small. Over time, this practice shifted her focus from lack to abundance, opening her heart to greater blessings. Energy work complemented these efforts, using techniques like Reiki, chakra balancing, and crystal grids. She also incorporated sound healing, playing Tibetan singing bowls to raise her vibrational frequency and align with the universal flow. Case study: a life transformed. Months later, Evelyn looked back on her journey with awe. The changes weren't dramatic, they were subtle yet profound. Her relationship with Marcus had evolved into a partnership marked by mutual respect and emotional intimacy. Her creative projects flourished, earning recognition she hadn't dared dream of. Most importantly, she radiated a sense of inner peace that drew people to her like moths to a flame. One evening, as she tucked her daughter into bed, the little girl looked up at her with wide eyes and said, "Mommy, you're so happy lately. It makes me happy too." Tears pricked Evelyn's eyes as she hugged her tightly. At that moment, she understood the ripple effects of transcending karma. Choosing love over fear, authenticity over conformity, and intention over overreaction transformed those around her. Transition to conclusion. Manifesting beyond karma marks the culmination of your journey, a leap from unconscious patterns to conscious creation. Yet remember, this isn't the end, it's a new beginning. Your soul's evolution is ongoing, shaped by every choice you make and the lessons you embrace. In the conclusion, we'll reflect on the transformative power of understanding and honoring your soul contracts. You'll leave equipped with tools, insights, and inspiration to continue walking the path of sovereignty with clarity, courage, and compassion. Until then, celebrate your progress. Trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and know that the universe is always conspiring in your favor. 10. Conclusion: walking the path of sovereignty. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over Evelyn's garden. She sat on her porch, a steaming mug of tea cradled in her hands, and let the stillness envelop her. The air carried the faint scent of blooming jasmine, mingling with the gentle hum of cicadas. In this quiet moment, that she felt it most acutely, the profound sense of sovereignty that had eluded her for so long. Sovereignty wasn't about control or dominance. It was about ownership. Ownership of her story, her choices, and her soul's journey. Through understanding her soul contracts, healing old wounds, breaking unhealthy agreements, and consciously manifesting her desires, Evelyn had stepped into her power, not as a victim of fate, but as a co-creator of her reality. And now, as she gazed at the stars beginning to twinkle in the night sky, she realized something extraordinary. She was both the author and the protagonist of her story. Reflections on the journey. Evelyn thought back to where she'd started, lost, confused, and weighed down by patterns she couldn't explain. At the time, life had felt like a chaotic web of random events, each thread pulling her further from peace. But now, armed with the knowledge of soul contracts, she saw the divine orchestration behind every twist and turn. Her father's abandonment hadn't been punishment. It had been preparation, a catalyst for resilience and self-reliance. Her struggles in relationships hadn't been failures. They had been lessons in setting boundaries and cultivating self-love. Even her moments of doubt hadn't been signs of weakness. They had been invitations to dig deeper, uncover hidden strengths, and trust herself more fully. This perspective didn't erase the pain of the past, but it reframed it. Pain became purpose. Struggle became growth. Chaos became clear. Evelyn understood now that every challenge, every connection, and every choice carried meaning, and that meaning was hers to interpret, honor, and transform, living authentically within your soul's blueprint. As Evelyn reflected on her journey, she recognized that living authentically within her soul's blueprint required ongoing commitment. It wasn't enough to decode her agreements or release what no longer served her. She had to remain vigilant, continually aligning her actions with her highest truths. This meant staying attuned to her intuition, practicing gratitude even in difficult times, and trusting the flow of life, even when the path ahead seemed uncertain. She also realized that authenticity wasn't a solo endeavor. Her relationships played a vital role in her evolution, serving as mirrors, teachers, and anchors. By nurturing supportive connections and releasing toxic ones, she created a network of love and encouragement that sustained her through challenges and celebrated her triumphs. These bonds reminded her that she was never truly alone, that her journey was part of a larger tapestry woven by countless souls working toward collective healing and growth. A call to action: embrace your power. To anyone reading this book, Evelyn would offer one piece of advice: embrace your power. You are not a passive participant in your life. You are an active force shaping your destiny. Every decision you make, the emotion you process, and the intention you set ripples outward, influencing the world around you. Start small if you must in your life. Practice forgiveness for yourself and others. Set boundaries that protect your energy and nurture your spirit. Visualize the future you desire, and take steps, however tiny, to bring it into being. Over time, these actions will compound, creating a life that reflects your deepest values and aspirations. Remember, too, that mastery is not perfection. There will be days when old habits resurface, fear threatens to take hold, or doubt clouds your vision. On those days, be kind to yourself. Healing and growth are nonlinear processes and are simply opportunities to recalibrate and realign. Final words of encouragement. As Evelyn sipped the last drops of her tea, she whispered a silent promise to herself. I will keep choosing love. I will keep choosing growth. I will keep choosing freedom. And so can you. You are the architect of your soul's journey, the weaver of your destiny. With every breath, you have the opportunity to rewrite your story, honor your agreements, and step boldly into the unknown. Trust that the universe is conspiring in your favor, guiding you toward experiences that reflect your highest good. Trust, too, that you possess everything you need to navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. So go forth with courage and curiosity. Decode your soul contracts, heal your wounds, and create a life that resonates with your truest self. In doing so, you'll not only fulfill your own purpose, but also contribute to the greater tapestry of humanity, a tapestry woven with threads of love, compassion, and infinite possibility. You are ready. This authorized audiobook of Soul Contracts 101 by Serafina Hartwell is presented by Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Serafina Hartwell. For the update audiobook, click Follow Soul Sanctuary Audio.